Hallelujah. We've been ministered on the resurrection all month. So if Piper can pull another down we had today, we might have another one today. But it was a song they sung, Resurrected King. Talks about a Savior, resurrected. When we look at our life and think we ain't worthy to be, I got a couple women who want to say a couple words before Piper gets ready to come. I want to testify and brag on God a little bit. So, Kathy, come here.
I just wanted to share a small testimony. That song they sung before this last one where it talked about, Lord, take away everything that isn't you. I thought I got to retire recently, and I'm a mail contractor, so I had employees, and then a couple of my employees quit. So everything began to change, but at first I had this list a mile long of all the things I wanted to do, was trying my best to do them every one before I had to go back to work. And then Kurt's mama got sick, and things began to change. And anybody knows me knows I'm not a caretaker by nature, so this has been a challenge, but at the same time, it's been a wonderful challenge. And as I was listening to the song again, you know, those words are hard to say, Lord, anything that's not of you, take it all away. Don't mean you're not doing good things. Sometimes it's good things. Sometimes it's good things. But the Lord speaks to me, anything, are you willing, Kathy? And I told him that day about a month ago. Anything, Lord, that's not of you, you take it away. Because what he gives me to do will be effective. What he does will always be effective. And even though they were hard to say, I meant them from my heart. And my life became changing rapidly. Rapidly it began to change. But I have felt his presence, and I've watched him move upon my life like I haven't seen in years, because I was willing to lay it all down for him. And I'm still there because his presence is more precious to me than anything, any money, any car, anything in my life. Nothing is more precious than his presence. And I'm realizing that when we lay it down for him, I'm telling you, you'll never lose in that situation. You'll always win. Because he'll move in and show you you. And then that resurrected part of me that needs to be resurrected for him, it only comes through him. It comes not through good works and all the things we can do, but it comes from Jesus Christ and him alone. So when you say those words, whatever's not of you, Lord, take it away. And you mean it. Be ready for the ride of your life, but ready for his blessings and his presence like maybe you've never felt before. And it's the beginning of a journey that I'm excited about because he's in charge. Kathy's not in charge anymore.
Brother David, say anything.
First, I'd like to start off and say thank you to my pastor for allowing me to stand behind here today. I know this is serious business. You don't just let anybody get up here, and I truly thank you for that. If you're new to New Life, or this is the first time you've been here, guess what? This is the first time I've been here. So we'll just be nervous together, but we'll get through it. Our text today, first of all, the title, More Than What You Bargained For. Seems like you always get more than what you bargained for. Not always. You can go to the dollar store and buy something for $1 and it really ain't what you bargained for. But with the Lord, you always get more than what you bargained for. Our text today will be from 1 Samuel chapters 1 and 2, but we'll start off with chapter 1. And I'd like to say a few words before I actually get into this. A few key characters. The first one is Elkanah. Now, I know I'm going to slaughter that word. I'm going to slaughter that name. So from now on, Elkanah is going to be Big E. Okay? Big E. So, but his name means God has acquired. Hannah, which I could say that one. She was the first wife of Big E. Her name means grace. Peninnah, who I may or may not mess that up, but if I do, her name's going to be Penny. Okay? Penny. And she is the second wife of Big E and has 11 children with Big E. So every year this family would go up to a temple in Shiloh and they would offer their sacrifices and they would offer praise and worship, and this year is no different. And they would make a trip there, and in verse 4 is where I'm going to start talking. It says, and when the time was that Elkanah, Big E, offered, he gave to Peninnah his wife and to all her sons and daughters portions. But unto Hannah, he gave her a worthy portion, for he loved Hannah. But the Lord had shut up her womb, and her adversary also provoked her sore, for to make her fret, because the Lord had shut up her womb. And as he did so year by year, when she went up to the house of the Lord, so she provoked her. Therefore she wept, and she didn't eat. Then said Big E, her husband, to her, Hannah, why weepest thou? And why eatest thou not? Yeah. And why is thy heart so grieved? Am I not better to thee than 10 sons? He couldn't understand what she was going through at that time. You know, all he seen was his wife being grieved and brokenhearted. And said, am I not enough? Even if you never have children, am I not enough? Is our relationship not enough? I love you that much. We don't have to have children. I love you that much. And said, now Peninnah, she never let Hannah forget. Never. Never let her forget that she wasn't enough for Big E. And she rubbed it in her face all the time. More than just a nana nana boo boo, I got kids and you don't. Provoked her vexedly, bitterly, every day. Day after day, minute after minute. I'm sure Hannah lived rough. And in verse 6 it said that she constantly harassed her, so much so that in verse 6 it calls Penny her adversary. And when I read that, I thought, wow, that's so ironic. Because Peninnah, who's been called an adversary, who else do we call the old adversary? That can rub us day after day after day, knows our weak spots, knows how to whisper things in our ear to get us down. And Big E loved her, but it's so much more than that, because, you know, Satan, Peninnah aggravated her so much, and I'm sure that every time that Hannah would see children playing, she was reminded. Every time that she looked upon Penny's sons and daughters, she was reminded. Every time they sit down at a dinner table and Peninnah was making her children plates and making sure her children was good. I could just imagine as Peninnah was doing this and saying, okay, baby, here's your plate. Here's your plate. Hey, Hannah, where's your kids? Where are they at today, Hannah? You don't have anybody sitting at the table, do you? You're not enough. You're not enough. Whispers all the time. You're not doing any good where you are. You may have his heart, but I have his kids. I have his kids. And you were his first wife, so then he had to find me, so I could give that to him. I could not imagine what that felt like. Couldn't imagine. So, in verse 9 it says, so Hannah rose up after they had eaten in Shiloh, and after they had drunk. And they come to the temple, and it says, Now Eli the priest sat upon a seat by a post in the temple of the Lord. And she was in bitterness of soul, and prayed unto the Lord, and wept sore. And she vowed a vow, and said, O Lord of hosts, if thou wilt indeed look on the affliction of thine handmaid, and remember me, and not forget thine handmaid, but wilt give unto thine handmaid a man-child, then I will give him unto the Lord all the days of his life, and there shall no razor come upon his head. And I thought, I was just going to pause there for a second. The only thing she wanted was a baby.
Yeah.
But yet she made a vow. If you'll just give it to me,
Yeah.
I'll give him right back.
Yeah.
And he will be in the temple all the days of his life. I'll give him back to you, Lord. Because who gives us things to begin with? They're not ours. They're not ours. They're just ours for just a little while. It still belongs to him. He's just gracious enough to let us enjoy him. Our houses, our cars, our jobs, everything in life, they're not ours. You think we done that? No, we didn't. And it says, And it came to pass as she continued praying before the Lord that Eli marked her mouth. Now Hannah, she spake in her heart, only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli thought that she had been drunken. And Eli said unto her, How long wilt thou be drunken? Put away thy wine from thee. And Hannah answered and said, No, my Lord, I am a woman of a sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but have poured out my soul before the Lord. Count not thine handmaid for a daughter of Belial, but for out of the abundance of my complaint and grief have I spoken hitherto. Then Eli answered and said, Go in peace, and the God of Israel grant thee thy petition that thou hast asked of them. And she said, Let thine handmaid find grace in thy sight. So the woman went her away, and she did eat, and her countenance was no more sad. She was in a place where the words wasn't even coming out of her mouth. They were all right there. Have you been there? I have. I fell on my face, and I couldn't say the first words. But thankfully, he heard my heart. I've been in intercession for someone that the words did not come out of my mouth. Moans and groans, but even here, she was silent. But you know what? She couldn't have been still. She couldn't have been still. I imagine that maybe she started out on her face just for a little bit, and maybe she started getting strength about her, and maybe she come up and she started doing this.
Come on, man. Yeah.
You know, I thought of Rita. I don't think she's here this morning, but I thought of Rita, how she'll come up and she'll never say a word, but she'll just do that scarf and she'll dance before the Lord. She had to be getting pretty excited because Eli wouldn't have caused her drunk. He wouldn't have called her drunk if he had not seen her actions. So I'm sure she wasn't in the corner going, Oh, Lord, please. She may have started out that way, but then she'd come up and she raised the hallelujah. She raised the hallelujah, not by her lips, but by her heart. And he heard her that day. It says in the last verse that her countenance was no more sad. Had her prayer already been answered? Was the evidence that her prayer was already answered? No. But she knew. She left it there. And she had faith that God heard her and he would answer her plea. The next year came and Hannah did not go to the temple. She had a son named Samuel. And she told me, as soon as he is weaned, then I will go to the temple and I will deliver him back, just like I had promised. She brought him back to Eli, and I love this verse. And some of us probably going to be paraphrasing, but I'm sure that when she come back, I would like to think that she went, Hey, remember me? I was that woman over there and you said I was drunk for me to put away my wine. Look what I have. He's all yours. Keep him, raise him, and keep him in the temple. And he started teaching there. And her prayer the first time was more about her emptiness and what she wanted. But then when she went back, it was a totally different prayer. It says, My heart rejoiceth in the Lord. My horn is exalted. Exalted, to exalt, to praise. to worship, to reverence in the Lord. My mouth is enlarged over my enemies because I rejoice in my salvation. There is none holy as the Lord, for there is none beside thee. Neither is there any rock like our God. The bows of the mighty men are broken, and they are stumbled and girded with strength. The Lord killeth, and the Lord maketh alive. He bringeth down the grave, and bringeth up. The Lord maketh poor, and maketh rich. He bringeth low, and he lifteth up. The adversaries of the Lord shall be broken to pieces. Out of heaven shall there be thunder upon them. The Lord shall judge the ends of the earth, and he shall give strength unto his kin. Exalt the horn of his anointed. This is more. This is more than just a sprained wrist, a hurt back. This is so much more. And whether she realized it or not, she prophesied right there, right then. When she said the adversaries of the Lord shall be broken into pieces. Out of heaven shall he thunder upon him. She wasn't talking about King David that was going to come. She said the anointed. The anointed, which also means Messiah. Whether she realized that she done it right then, right there. And she received so much more than what she bargained for. In later scriptures it said she went on to have 3 girls and 2 boys. So much more. She asked for 1. She ended up with 6. She gave 1 back, but she still had 5. What would Penina say now? What would her old adversary say now? She beat the odds through Christ. And the only way she could do that was through prayer. And she knew that. Another mama I'd like to talk about today. I think it was Kurt that said we've been talking about the resurrection and how we all will tie it in. But I'd like to talk about Mary. A mama who was found with child of the Holy Ghost. According to Matthew. And in Luke, it says, spoke of how the angel came unto her, saying she was highly favored. The Lord is with thee, and she was blessed among women. Be not troubled, be not afraid. And I'm sure she didn't quite understand it, or he wouldn't have said, be not troubled. I'm sure she was scared. What would you do? I don't know, I probably would have been, what are you talking about? Are you sure you got the right one? I don't think you want me, I'm just married. I'm only about 13, 14, 12, somewhere in that range. I don't know what to do with the baby. But she was the one. And it says, but I believe that when the Holy Ghost came upon her and the power of the highest overshadowed her, and she was pregnant with the Son of God. What pressure she must have felt, but I think she knew from that point on the plan. She knew what it meant to give your body a living sacrifice. You know, Paul talks about giving your body a living sacrifice. This was done way before Paul even talked about it. It's so much more than just skipping a meal. It's giving your body a living sacrifice. And she knew she would have to give her son back to God, who had gave her this gift. I believe her eyes was truly opened. I can only imagine watching him grow up. To correct him as a mother would. To kiss his boo-boos away. To tell him bedtime stories. To watch him play. Maybe have a scuffle with another kid. I don't know. All the while thinking in the back of her mind, one day, there's coming a day that I'm going to have to give him back. Lord, give me strength. I can only imagine the pain, the anguish, the grief she felt while she watched them as they watched him, I believe that she followed him, carrying that cross up to the place of the skull, Golgotha. And he may have stumbled. He was beat beyond measure. And I could only imagine as she said, I'm here. I'm here, Jesus. Can you hear my voice? My baby. My son. I could not imagine what that mother felt. Can you hear me? I can't kiss those boo-boos away, but I'm right here. And I'm sure as she was doing all that, her mom flooded back to that little boy that would come running. Mommy, I scraped my knee. It hurts so bad. Mommy, what are we going to do? And she would scoop him up and say, it's okay, baby. We'll beat him up. It's okay. But he pressed on. She went as far as she could, and that was to the grave. Then she waited. That second day she waited, and maybe all the other disciples were confused, and maybe what if it wasn't real? I believe she waited, and she knew. Give him time. Third day hasn't got here yet. He's coming back. And maybe Thomas was saying, I don't know, Mama, I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be it or not. We heard it, and we heard it, and we heard it, but now that it's here, I don't know. She waited. She knew. She knew God's son, her son, would rise victoriously, have victory over death, hell, and the grave. And because of that, he would become the most high priest. In Acts it says that Jesus is standing on the right hand of the Father, and he's making intercessions for you and I. No longer do we have to travel to a temple in Shiloh, where Eli don't understand what's going on in our hearts. He accuses us and judges us for being drunk, but God knows. He's standing up there becoming our high priest. When he defeated all of that, we can reach the throne room of God anywhere we are. In our car, at work, at the Walmart, it doesn't matter. Because he can be touched with our infirmities, and he listens. And we don't have to make sacrifices anymore because he was the ultimate sacrifice. And John, it says the good shepherd. When he is the good shepherd, he would lay down his life for his sheep. And that's what he did. That's what he did. She had a void that Big E could not fill. Hannah did, but Jesus filled it. Jesus filled it. We all have a Panana in our life. Whether it's Satan or whether it's people around us. And just like Kathy said, sometimes we have to guard ourselves and we want to just fight back with all we can. But we got to keep our mouths shut sometimes because the Lord is handling our Pananas. The Lord is handling our Pananas just like he's handled Satan over death and the grave. We can become victorious, and if you have that void today, let him fill it. If you have a Panana, quit fighting with him. Lay it down here and let's get it right. No longer do you have to fight him because he's going to take your battles. He's going to fight your battles. When you think you're surrounded, he is right there with you. Just like the servant said, open thy eyes, Lord. Let him see what really is around him. He is right there. Don't give up. Don't listen to those whispers. Don't let them get you down. Pastor, keep pastoring. Sherry, keep pastoring. Keep preaching. Kathy, keep doing what you're doing. Kurt, keep doing what you're doing. We all need to keep doing what we're doing. Don't listen to the Pananas in your life.
so refreshing. See a different perspective. We as men can't get that perspective, but I thought she done a great job. And I'm sure I speak for Ramey that if there's any pennies in the building, she was not referring to you. Listen, just a name. It didn't mean you. Okay? Wow. It's just a good word. Oh, thank you, everybody. It's been wonderful. Been wonderful. So Brother Ralph, in his compassion that he is, looked at me and said, now follow that, buddy. That's why I count him as my dear friend. I would like to speak a few words. Don't need to add anything to that, what's happened here. And my goodness, it's just a good word. But we are talking about resurrection, and I want to continue with what Sister Ramey was talking about. You all know this phrase here, right? And I love what she said about how we get more than what we bargained for. In Jesus Christ, you always get more than what you bargained for. She mentioned one of the disciples, and we're going to kind of touch on him just for a few moments before we let you go here on Thomas. So we're going to be in John chapter 20. But I want to read a verse, and then I want that in your mind. Thomas, everybody calls him Doubting Thomas. But what we don't realize, Michael, is that before all the Doubting Thomas came up, he was willing to give his life for his Savior. He's not so much doubting, he just needs confirmation a lot of times. And I dare say a lot of us look around and say, I believe, I got all kinds of faith, but a lot of times we got to see stuff before we truly believe. We need to hold on different than Thomas. But when Thomas saw him, and I don't want to jump ahead and jump back, but when Thomas saw him, he made that statement, my Lord, my God. That was almost 2,000 years ago, Brady, and you know what? There's still not a more detailed, compassionate, comprehensive statement ever made about Jesus Christ. And when you can make that statement, you've got it made. If I can use that phrase. If he is your Lord and he is your God, you're going to get a whole lot more than what you think. I want to read 1 Peter. Did I give that to you? I think I did. Let's read that one. Blessed be the God and the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, which according to his abundant mercy hath begotten us again. Again. He has begotten us again. No wonder why he looked at Nicodemus and say, ye must be born again. He has begotten us again, but look what he's begotten us into, a lively hope by the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. Where is your hope anchored at right now? We've already found out Hannah could not anchor her hope in her husband nor herself. It took God to open up a womb that he had closed. Sister Kathy said, throw everything away that doesn't look like God. I'm going to go a little farther with that if I can. Make sure you know what God looks like before you start throwing stuff away. Because God doesn't look like a closed womb, but he was. I'll get ready to sit back up on you all. We need to make sure that it's God. Proof positive that it is God that's doing it. I don't know if you've looked around or not, but we got Brother Charlie Evans with us this morning. He's been fighting around for a long time, but God opened up doorways, and God made things happen that man probably couldn't have made happen. And I know it was man that that done the operation. And I know it was somebody else that gave him the liver. And I understand all this stuff. But I also know that it was God that was in the arrangements that made a phone call and said, hey, you're number 2 on the list. If you'll come right now, you may or you may not get a liver. But about 30 miles out of Louisville, he got another phone call and said, hey, if you can show up today, you can have the liver. Now look at it. Running around with us tonight. Aren't you glad that God is more than what we thought? So, I have been, you have been begotten again unto a lively hope. My question again is, where's your hope at? If our hope is in Christ Jesus, in this life only, we of all men are most miserable. But my hope is anchored, and I know yours is anchored in Jesus Christ, right? One little quick story, and then my goodness, I don't think I want to go very far at this point. These people are done enough. But since I'm up here, back in the ancient times, years, even before me, before internet, there was worlds before internet. Back in biblical time, ancient times, the big ships would come into a harbor, and if they happened to come in at night, because they didn't have all the devices that we have today, they didn't want to come into the harbor at night because it was very dangerous. It was low, and there was rocks and all this stuff. So if they happened to come in at night, I love this. Instead of trying to get into the harbor, they would take a smaller boat, and they would put the anchors on the small boat with a long rope. And they would send the smaller boat out into the harbor, into the safe harbor, and then they would drop their anchors there. Though the ship was way off here, the anchors were in the harbor. See, I'm going to say something right now. I'm already a resident of God's heavenly city. Right now. I'm not there yet, but I've got an anchor set up there already fastened. I haven't made it up to the harbor yet, but my anchor is there, and I'm attached to that anchor by faith. See, it's faith that attaches us to the anchor, which is Christ Jesus. I've got a lively hope. I'm anchored to that. Though it may be years from now, it may also be tomorrow. I don't know. You don't either. So let's go to John chapter number 20, verse number 19. If you go bear with me, I'll get out of your way very, very quickly. I believe I will. Because I want to get, I'll go quick, real quick through the first one. Shoo, good stuff. Then the same day at evening, this being the same day, this is Resurrection Day. And then the same day at evening, being the first day of the week, when the doors were shut, where the disciples were assembled for fear of the Jews, came Jesus and stood in the midst and said unto them, peace be unto you. He says that 3 times in this portion of Scripture. Peace be unto you. Of all the things, Brother Bill, that he could have said, he said, peace be unto you. Why? Think about it. Think about it, Brother Andy. Here it is. They're all huddled in this room, and they're afraid of the Jews, and all kinds of events have happened during this time, Brother Ralph, and they're huddled up in there, and Jesus shows up through a locked door, Larry. He comes through a locked door. It's fascinating to me. Being is fascinating to me. And so many things in the Scriptures that we've heard and read about for so long that just don't really entice us or make us feel funny or they don't impress us. Let's put it that way. The man, Christ Jesus, in his resurrected glory, walked through a locked door. And we're like, that's pretty cool. No, that's way past pretty cool. And he walks through. I can imagine, Jason, your eyes about that big. And he says peace. Could have said a lot of things, but he said peace. Says it 3 times. He says it then, and he's find out, we're going to find out, he says it when he sees Thomas, peace. Don't be afraid. Peace. That's what he came for. For peace. To reconcile us back to Christ, or back to God. If we truly understand reconciliation back to God, we'll walk in peace. That's how vital, Ronnie, it is to the Lord. He could have said, oh, don't worry. Or he could have said, I'm the one. Or he could have done some miracles. He could have done a lot of things. But he said, please, I want you to have peace. He still wants us to have peace. I got my sister-in-law with us here. And I am so thankful that she showed up today. Because if it hadn't been for the love of God, she wouldn't be here. I ran her vehicle yesterday. And it's a Mustang. A big pretty Mustang. The Jeep just landed real good. I did, Brady. What are you doing next week? Oh, buddy. But you see, it wasn't my fault. She parked right behind the vehicle, and then I had them grandkids in there running their mouth the whole time. Had a hot cup of coffee, and I was hurrying, I was late. So really wasn't my fault. Really, you should be asking my forgiveness, every one of you. That's how peace works. That's how peace works. When there's peace, when there's true peace, I hope we get over this much. When there's true peace, stuff like that. I walked in there and I told her what I'd done. She looked at me. She said, no big deal. She never even went out and looked at me. I could have been lying through my teeth. She said, it's no big deal. Sure, he was freaked out. Are you serious? Yeah. And do no damage. What was you thinking? Okay, let me move. My God. I'm sorry, I'm not going to go very far. I already said that. The word peace, literally, and I tell you what, that's as far as I'm going to go. Since I've got 17 of these, I can do this for a month. Peace literally means to join together. It literally means reconciliation. That's why it's so important. Jesus might as well have jumped in when he walked in and said, I've reconciled you. All that he came for was to redeem us back to God. So that's why he can say, peace, I've done it. I've done it. You could be at peace, church. Sunday school this morning was all about the sufferings and how we should handle the sufferings and how we should handle all the things that's coming against us. Peace. If we truly got the peace of God, we can handle the sufferings. Hey, the scripture. I ain't gonna do it. Scripture is very clear, and we read it this morning. Anybody. He said that if you have been persecuted wrongly for Christ's sake and you take it, that is righteous. Anybody can get corrected when they done something wrong. It was my fault that I hit Dale's car. Not shit, Dale. It was my fault. I can't blame anybody else. See, I keep bringing it up, hopefully, that they'll be compassionate for us because I'm church on the time. It's easy to say I'm sorry. But what if I hadn't done anything wrong? And I still got ridiculed. Still got persecuted. How am I going to take that? Peace. If I've got peace with God, and I know it's went sideways on this thing, but that's okay, it's her fault. If I've got peace because of that resurrection, accusing me wrongly. It was not my fault. They like me getting on him, huh? Yeah. It's perfect over there. We'll bust a bubble on him. He has been very mean to me. And I'm doing a righteous thing here. And I do not retaliate to him. But I do go to John. Can you believe what Kurt done? And John says, yeah, like that all the time. Nobody knows him like that. He's not there as perfect as they say. Let me tell you the real Kurt Mark guys. And before long, am I telling the truth or not? Before long, we've not said anything to him, but we've absolutely crucified him behind his back. And then I get up and say, he rebuked me and persecuted me, but I did not retaliate. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And the reason is we lost our focus. I believe they said it this morning, and verse 4 tells us very clearly. We do that. We do not retaliate for the glory of God. It's not because I want vengeance. It's because I'm supposed to be glorifying God. That makes it a whole big difference. So, with all that said, and I want to go to John chapter, I want to read one verse. 20. Nah, let's not do that. 26. Yeah! After 8 days again, what does that mean? Give me just a few minutes and I'm going to close. After 8 days again, that's this Sunday. That's this Sunday. He's counting the Sundays. After 8 days. In other words, this is the very week following the resurrection. They've been for a full week. Oh, I've got so much in it. I'd like to get it. They had been a full week in an upper room or hiding. Probably who knows what was going on. Woo! Glory! But Jesus had showed up on Resurrection Day, and he did this one thing. He breathed upon them, and they received the Holy Ghost. So they're anointed now. Though he does not feel them as he will at Pentecost, which is looking forward to that. But they've been speaking to Thomas for a week. Thomas, we saw him. Thomas, he breathed upon us. Thomas, he did that. He said, if I don't see it, I don't believe it. He had been walking with these boys for 3 years. But still, yet, he's not going to believe it until he sees it. Verse number 26 says, and after 8 days, Thomas is with him now. So he didn't hang in there, Daniel. He's hanging in there. And Jesus came, the doors again shut, locked up, and he stood in the midst. And look what he said. The very same word. Peace be unto you. Next verse. Just a few seconds. And then said he to Thomas, reach hither. Notice. And he didn't say, Thomas, what's the matter with you, bone-headed person? Why do you listen to the servants of sin? He didn't rebuke him. When you're walking with somebody that's not got as much faith as you do, don't be arrogant. Don't talk down to people. People don't receive the gospel if you're talking down to them. If you talk to them, they'll listen. He wouldn't leave. He said, here I am, Thomas. This is what you wanted. I'm delivering. Do what you wanted to do. Now this is verse 28. This is his response to what he said in verse 27. My Lord and my God. How many of us done the bargaining thing with God? And God always does his end of the bargain. If you'll just do this, God, I'll serve you for heaven. He don't have to do that. But he loves us enough a lot of times. He just goes ahead and does it. And when we see that should be our response. My Lord and my God. Jesus goes on and says, Thomas, because you saw that, you believe. He said, blessed are they that don't see it, but yet believe. Simple statement right here. Jesus had all kinds of facts, but he was concerned more about faith than he is facts. Amen? He's concerned about our faith. Let's stand.